Master Kendrick Hudson, Secretaries, place their contenders in the sways of witching power that will dispel over the minds of your people.
The dominant spirit that haunts this enchanted region and seems to be commander-in-chief of all the powers of the air is the apparition of a figure on a horseback without a head. It is said by some to be the ghost of a Hessian trooper whose head was tied away by a cannonball in some nameless battle during the Revolutionary War. Many allege that the ghost uproots himself from his tomb at the churchyard in order to ride to the scene of battle in nightly quest of his head.
Such is the general purpose of the superstition, which has furnished the materials for many love stories, and the spectre is known at all country firesides by the name of the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow.
And that is where our story begins.
This swiftness of nature, the revolt of Murphy White, the name of the conqueror.
Hello. This unassuming fellow had served round to Sleepy Hollow for the purpose of instructing the children of the vicinity. He was a native of Connecticut, a state which supplied the Union with pioneers for the mine as well as for the port, and sent forth yearly its legions of frontier woodmen and country schoolmasters. Our exploit was certainly of the latter type. So this is to be my house of learning. Excellent. The schoolhouse was a low building of one large room, rudely constructed of logs, the windows partly glazed and partly thatched, with leaves of old coconuts. Seventh grade. Excellent.
The school hours are over. Ichabod prided himself on being the companion and playmate of some of the boys, especially those who had some pretty sisters, or good housewives and mothers, noted for the comforts of the cupboard.
There, boy! Is that how you treat your schoolmaster on his first day?
Sorry,
Thank you. Indeed. It's behooved him to keep on good terms with his pupils.
Richard, small tongue, buster pants. The revenue arising from the school was small, but would have been scarcely sufficient to furnish him with daily bread, for he was a huge eater.
Though lank, he had the dilating powers of an anaconda.
To help him to maintenance, he was, according to the country custom of his part, boarded and lodged at the houses of the farmers whose children he instructed.
Master Doctor's son, it is a long.
Good day.
After only one day in Sleepy Hollow, I'm quite sure my stay here will be a memorable one.
Quite.
In addition to his school teaching, Ichabod was a capable travelling present, carrying a whole budget of deposit from house to house, so that his affairs would always be greeted with satisfaction. You've heard of him, Mr. Luggins. For some told we had a terrible run of martial rugby. Why, I heard.
Is that so? Is that so? Is that so? Gossip kept Ichabod's mind interested by day, but for evening pleasures he preferred a more fantastic manner of tale.
His prime source of pleasure was to pass long winter evenings with the old Dutch wives and share their marvelous tales of ghosts, goblins, and haunted fields, and haunted brooks, and haunted bridges, and haunted houses.
You would delight them with amateurs of witchcraft, and of the dire moments and reputations, sights and sounds that would deal with the earlier trend of Connecticut.
Goodbye.
And as Ichabod went straight through Scotland, and also listened to the farmhouse he happened to be quartered,
sheer good fortune, Ichabod always managed to return home intact. In addition to the schoolmaster, Ichabod was a second to school town. He would pick up many great shillings by instructing the young folks in town in Saturday.
Good day, music teacher.
Good day, my friends.
Shall we begin our lesson?
Indeed, if you would please turn to page 45 in your handbook.
Among the musical disciples that assembled, one after each weekend to receive his instruction in something that was Katrina of Castle.
She was a blooming lass of fresh 18, a little of a coquette, which might be perceived as even in her dress, which included a provokingly short petticoat to display the prettiest foot and ankle of the country round.
Very well done, miss. You have improved.
I have an excellent teacher. Shall we begin our lesson?
Indeed, if you would please turn to page 45 in your handbook.
Among the musical disciples that assembled, one after each weekend to receive his instruction in something that was Katrina of Castle.
She was a blooming lass of fresh 18, a little of a coquette, which might be perceived as even in her dress, which included a provokingly short petticoat to display the prettiest foot and ankle of the country round.
Very well done, miss. You have improved.
I have an excellent teacher.
She was also the daughter and only child of the substantial Dutch farmer Baltrus van Castle.
Good day, Master Van Castle.
Good day.
Katrina, until tomorrow.
Until then.
Katrina, I was thinking fond of you for rest. Her voice is not unusual. Her mother would be very proud.
That she would, I'm sure. Ichabod Crane has a soft and foolish heart towards the Lancashires, and it is not to be wondered that Sir Marshals have found favour in his eyes, especially after he visits her in her paternal mansion.
Thank you again for the generous hospitality.
Honourable schoolmaster, think nothing of it.
You have a wonderful home, sir.
Been in the family for years, the house descends from the original Dutch settlers of 3 generations ago, and in the barn you'll find swallows, pigeons, geese, turkeys, guinea fowl, pigs, cows, most everything you could hope for on a Christmas morning.
The pedagog's mouth watered as he looked upon the sumptuous promise of luxurious winter fare. In his devouring mind's eye, he pictured to himself every roasting pig running about with pudding in his belly. The pigeons were snugly put to bed in a pie and tucked out with a coverlet of crust. The geese were swimming in their own gravy.
Oh, excuse me. As the enraptured Ichabod fancied all this, his heart yearned after the damsel who was to inherit these domains.
This enterprise, however, more real difficulties than generally occur as a result of the night out to Europe, who seldom had anything but giants, enchanters, fire
sweep the fields openly against his rival would be madness. Ichabod, therefore, made his advances in a quiet and gently insinuating manner.
Under cover of his character of singing master, Ichabod made frequent visits to the farmhouse. Not that he had anything to apprehend, but the meddlesome interference of parents can so often be a stumbling block in the path of lovers.
Katrina, are you ready for your lesson?
Yes.
As the lady of the household, as she had. Katrina, I'm here to conduct a regular lesson. How late did you say? No, Katrina. She lives here. What?
Coming! Oh, don't mind Ferdinand. He doesn't speak English.
I profess not to know how a woman's heart is wooed and won. To me, they have always been matters of riddle and admiration. Some seem to have but one verbal point of door of access, while others have 1,000 avenues and may be captured in 1,000 different ways.
That was truly kind. Thank you. Think nothing of it. Am I not a pupil to you? Like one of your schoolboys?
No, not at all. You're my finest pupil. And not to mention, one of the finest people I've met in Singapore. And the loveliest.
He who wins 1,000 common hearts, entitled to some renown. But he who keeps the undisputed sway over the heart of the coquette is indeed a hero.
Thank you. It's been such a fine afternoon.
It has been my absolute pleasure.
Good day, music teacher.
Good day.
But as Rob became aware of Ichabod's advances towards the maiden of that castle, a deadly fear arose between him and his follower.
On a fine autumnal afternoon, Ichabod, in pensive mood, sat in a schoolhouse, enthroned on the lofty stool from whence he usually watched over all the concerns of his little world. His young scholars were silent, and aside from the wistful sighs that fought with his fair bow, the room was still.
The mood was suddenly interrupted by the appearance of a messenger in total cloth jacket trousers, mounted on the back of a ragged, whirled, half-broken colt.
Here you are, is it? What? Nay, ma'am. It was an invitation for Ichabod to attend a merrymaking or a closing frolic at Lancaster Castles tonight. Class dismissed.
Ichabod had spent an extra half hour furnishing and brushing up his beds.
That he might make his appearance before his mistress with the true spirit of a cavalier, he borrowed a horse from the farmer, with whom he was commiserated and issued forth like a knight errant in quest of adventures.
In true spirit of romantic story, I give some account of the looks and equipment of our hero and his steed. The animal he was rode upon was a broken down plough horse that outlived everything but its viciousness. He was skeletal and shagged. His rusty tail and mane were tangled and knotted with furs. One eye had lost its pupil. It was glaring and spectral, but the other had the gleam of a genuine devil in it. Still, he must have had some fire and metal in his day, if we may judge him for the name he bore. soon to take with the heiress, fully convinced he was now on the highway to success. But his mistress, she was nowhere to be found.
Some said that she had taken Ellen, some that she had taken another lover that night. Who is to know? Let it suffice to say, Ichabod stole forth with the air of one who had been sat in a hen roast, rather than a fair lady's heart. Oh, Lord, where's he gone? It was the very witching time of night that Ichabod, heavy-hearted and crestfallen, pursued his travels homewards. No signs of life occurred near him, but occasionally the melancholy chirp of a cricket, or perhaps the guttural twang of a bullfrog from the neighbouring marsh.
All the stories of ghosts and goblins that he heard in the afternoon became crowding upon his recollection. The night grew darker and darker. The stars seemed to sit deep in the sky. He never felt so lonely and dismal.
He was, moreover, approaching the very place where many of the ghost stories had been believed. In the centre of the road stood an enormous tulip tree, entrenched in purple mud, which towered like a giant over all the other trees in the neighbourhood, and formed a kind of landmark. Oh Lord, my soul burned.
Suddenly, Ichabod heard a groan, his teeth chattering and his knees smote against the saddle. It was but the rubbing of one huge tree upon another, as they were swayed about by the breeze. They passed the tree in safety, but new perils lay before them.
About 200 yards from the tree, a small brook crossed the road. A few rough logs laid side by side served as a bridge over the stream. To pass this bridge would be the severest trial. As he approached the stream, his heart began to thump. He summoned up, however, all his resolution, gave his horse half a spur in the rib, in an attempt to dash briskly across the bridge. But instead of starting forward, the perverse old animal stopped dead in his tracks. However, Ichabod, whose fears increased with delay, jerked the reins on the other side and kicked lustily with the contrary foot. It was all in vain. Oh boy, why stop here? We must
when the townspeople diligently considered them all, they shook their heads and came to the conclusion that Ichabod had been carried off by the galloping Hessian.
Rob, shortly after the driver's disappearance, conducting the blooming Katrina to the altar on the side.
Or burst into a hearty laugh at the mention of the pumpkin, which led some to assume that he knew more than he chose to tell. Ha ha ha!
But there be a secret there that's forever held between the self-proclaimed hero of Sleepy Hollow, the cantankerous stallion gunpowder, the last quarter peak to ever even live one eye.
The skill house, being deserted, soon fell to decay, and was reported to be haunted by the ghost of the unfortunate Hesgog.
Though it was said that a certain distance from the fateful bridge